Welcome back, guys and girls, to the Switched On podcast, episode number 2. We survived the second one. That's like a huge step, honestly. It's a big momentous occasion. We made it to episode 2. Thanks to you guys for liking it so that we could exist. Behind the scenes, this was a hellish setup. Like, you don't even want to see how many mics and apps we have open to make this work. So any software designers out there that want to make an app for us to easily record 3 people in totally different parts of the country making a podcast about Switch games, like, let us know. Call us up at the SwitchForce on Twitter. What's up, everybody? I am Zach, your host. We've got Joseph and Trip back again in the hot seats, ready for action. I've got a bone to pick with Joseph, and Zach has some interesting games to talk about. So today we got games. We've got Balloon Skills Viral Man, which is probably my favorite podcast note ever. We've got
it's a pretty good one.
The SNES games probably coming to Switch, a little Pokemon Masters talk, obviously your questions, and more. But first, Gabe. Where is Gabe? Unfortunately, Gabe's stuff with his family has taken a far bigger toll than he initially expected, so he was not able to make it back in time for episode 2. We will keep you updated. Hopefully, he'll be back for episode 3. He wanted me to let you all know that he misses everybody, and he's trying his best, but right now it just was not in the cards. So, Gabe, we hope you can get back quick. In the meantime, we'll roll with our 3 Musketeers and see what we got going on. So, as I teased, before we get to the Switch games we've been playing, the Balloon Skills Viral Man. Have you guys seen this guy?
Yes.
No. You have not, Joseph. Okay, so I got to give you the link, man. I got to grab you the link. Hold your horses. I got to get this for you. So basically, Zach, do you want to explain what we've got going on here?
Yeah, so basically there's this dude who just happens to really hate balloons. He hates them with all of his heart. No, that's not true. I don't know if he actually cares about balloons one way or the other. But he does all these like jerry-rigged like catapults and trebuchets, and he like attaches them to his arms, and then he like finds very dangerous ways to stab the balloons and blow them up, all the while possibly, risking his own life. But at least he's destroying balloons in an interesting and a creative way. I think he's teaching our youth something valuable here. Be creative in your violent acts. Nah, I mean, they're just balloons. I don't know. I never really cared about balloons, but maybe they are worth destroying.
I sent it to you on Twitter, so that's a really great description. I was going to start this off by asking how you guys' weeks were, but this is too important.
Oh no, clearly.
This guy's like the Dark Souls of balloons, honestly.
Oh no. So what's funny is
That's how it connects.
I was like, I have no idea who this guy is. You started your description. I saw a couple of screen captures of this guy, extremely out of context, and I didn't give it a second thought. I cannot believe this is a thing. He's really going.
The thing that I like to think about is either this is a man who is like beyond help, or a man that needs to help us all. It's either he's so smart and so genius, or he's psychotic.
But he's found his calling, and that's all anybody can do. He found his calling. It's to blow up balloons in impressive and excessive ways.
My favorite one is there's one where he puts like the spikes on his shoulder and he's just like shrugging like
I'm on that one right now as you say that.
So good.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely something. I have thoughts. I do. One thing that I'll say is, Trip, you made a good point. He did indeed find something he's passionate about, but I think the beauty in it is he created a market. He's just living the American dream over here.
It's so.
I mean, he's one of those guys who had to like sit down and he's like, okay, I have one thing that I can do. I know how to attach knives and chandeliers and strange contraptions together, but I don't know how to make money off of it. And so he's like, what could I do? And then someone was probably, you could blow up balloons with them. And then he's like, wait, no, you're onto something.
There's somebody like pops through tinfoil too, which is just like so unnecessary and so excessive, but it's like just makes it all. He's dedicated. I wish we were that dedicated to anything.
I know he's just living his best life.
And dude, when this goes away, he might get a call from the Blue Man Group or something, because I feel like the same skills apply. He's gonna have a job somewhere.
What's sad is like I feel like those shows have completely lost, and maybe I'm off base, so let me know. But I feel like those shows have lost so much popularity because of like YouTube. Like now you can go see like a Cirque du Soleil person doing crazy stuff, or someone just doing 8 backflips in a row on YouTube. Whereas like when I was little, it was like like you said, like Blue Man Group or Stomp or Cirque du Soleil was like, this is like the coolest show that everyone wants to go to.
And now it's all 2 clicks away. Yep.
It really does say something. I mean, even this now, like, did you guys ever think in your life you would see a guy creatively blowing up balloons with knives in creative ways that he built himself? I mean, you know, I could have lived without that, but I'm glad I didn't. So, I mean, you know, the internet works in mysterious ways, positive and negative, I guess.
And the reason we're talking about this is because we're hoping that eventually there's going to be some fun Nintendo Switch game that allows you to blow up balloons in creative ways.
There is,
just in case you thought this was off topic.
There's some bad stuff on eShop, so Balloon Popper would not be the worst. It would not be the
coin
worst.
Coin it.
Let's also mention that we're very well aware that everyone would like this on the Apple Podcast app, on other streaming / audio sources, and we're working to have that happen. It should be there now, and if not, don't worry, it's coming. We've seen every request. That's the main thing, and we want to make it happen. We're not trying to like hold it hostage or anything. We're just working hard behind the scenes, busy weeks. And as I said, I got 2 mics here. We've got like 4 apps open. We've got audio and video separate, so it's just kind of coming together a little bit crazy. I kind of feel like we're uncovering fire or discovering fire, and we're like, oh wow, how does this work? A lot of
also, it took me a long time to get my water bottle for this podcast. I don't think it's important, but I wanted to mention it because it's a struggle I went through today. And,
what do we all got here? I've got Zephyr Hills, which is a Florida brand. So
Florida brand.
Yeah.
Fancy.
I've got the trusted Arrowhead.
Oh, I like Arrowhead. Arrowhead's good.
Arrowhead.
And I'm drinking water from my refrigerator. So
Joseph.
yeah,
Kitsch.
it produces
Joseph,
water
Kitsch.
sometimes.
You're a strange one. You know, we had
That's
the whole
what I do.
The whole issue with Pokemon. We had the whole Pokemon issue last week, and then Trip and I were talking midweek, and we realized that you have brainwashed us. And
Is this your bone to pick?
This is my bone to pick. Yeah. So
Okay.
I hope you had a good week, Joseph, because I'm here to pick some bones.
It was pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
You brainwashed Trip and I, and we were talking about it off air that we used to think of the Switch Lite as a slightly smaller Switch, and we've called it tiny like 6 times this week. And it is not tiny, but you've convinced us that the Switch Lite is like this micro system that we're so excited to just slide into our little shirt little pocket.
All right, I listen. I didn't build the scene to that extent. I'm just saying it's definitely like we're shaving off 2 more Joy-Cons worth of size.
How big is this thing actually? Do we have some specs on this? Can we pull this thing up?
It is
what
not much
qualifies
smaller.
as tiny?
It's not much smaller, to be quite honest.
But we were
like,
talking like, we're gonna have to hold it 2 inches from our face.
It's like even when they showed the size difference, I wasn't too impressed. I was like, man, I really wish they could have shaved off a little more.
So you want it to be smaller than it is?
Well, I'm just saying, if you're gonna be like, hey, let's really try to make this a handheld, then go all the way, you know.
I feel you there. But yeah, I will admit that it has crept its way into my psyche. Now I just keep picturing it as like this like phone like pressed up against my face or something.
It's funny
and
you
it's
say
a lot
that.
bigger than that.
It's not off topic, but real quick, back when the rumors were like really going crazy, like everyone was making videos on it. I guess it was so in my mind that I went to go see Detective Pikachu, and I don't know if you guys have seen the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are parts where they use their phone, and their phone is like on one side red and on one side blue, and the middle's like black. And I caught that, and I remember I audibly I gasped as loud as possible, and I grabbed my friends, and I was like, that's the Switch Mini. That has to be it. And it wasn't. So thank you.
Hey.
Team behind Pokemon.
Hey, I mean,
Detective
Nintendo
Pikachu.
has consistently said that they still need to apply to mobile apps and all this stuff. What if the next big thing is a Nintendo phone, you know? What if that's after the Switch, we're just going to get a straight up Nintendo phone that we can play all of our games on, and they can also charge us for cellular data at the same time.
We don't want that though. Like,
No, I don't want it. I'm just saying it might happen.
3 houses a lot better than Heroes. Mario Maker 2 is a lot better than Run.
Yeah.
Mario Kart Tour just won't
absolutely.
even
I don't
come out.
want that at all.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, so I now have to recalibrate my brain, Joseph, because you've you've made me think that I'm getting a Nintendo Switch Micro, and I'm just not. So
you are, man.
No, I'm not.
We're all gonna be whipping it out. Nobody's gonna be questioning anything.
It's not.
That was a bad sentence, shouldn't I?
So the podcast is coming to iTunes. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Is that what
that's the thing. It's coming.
Oh, right. We took a
in-
while to get back to that. I was just wondering if that was the case.
It's just in time
man.
for back to school.
We decided to.
Which is a thing that I think people are. By the way, just so everyone knows, Joseph sometimes has Joseph sometimes has a lag. So like if it sounds like we're cutting him off or he's cutting us off, it's probably not because he's upset about the bone we just picked. It's probably just because his internet is lagging a little bit right now.
Yeah, or I am upset and I masked it to these guys. I'm just trying to use that as an excuse.
You hide it well.
Yeah.
All right, so awkward transition aside, back to school for most people. We're sorry. We feel for you. I haven't been back to school in now 12 years, 11 years, just a long time.
Man,
I don't even know if I know this about you. Did either of you guys go to college?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
I went for a bit.
Sure did.
I went for a time.
Okay.
And I got my general education out of
Nice.
the way. Haha. But then it was up to me to decide whether or not I wanted to transfer into film school, which, the schools I was looking into is like upwards of 50 grand. And I was like, I'm not feeling that. So instead, I'm using what little money I have to just build up my own portfolio, shoot my own stuff, do my own short films, music videos, that kind of stuff.
There you go.
And honestly, I think it's a better use of my time because I know a lot of friends that have gone on to film school, paid an arm and a leg, and then once they're out of film school, like they're so in debt that they just basically take any job they can. And I'm like, well, what's the difference between taking any job I can now? So,
Yeah. For sure.
But I mean,
true.
I was homeschooled from from like 4th grade on, so I don't have a ton of
wow.
like back to school stories. When you're in homeschool, you're not ever going back to school. You're always in school. And then in a much more real sense, you're never in school.
Yeah, that's the good side of it.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's
no
deep,
homework
man.
for us. I mean, we had homework, but did we do it? Me and my brothers and my sister? No. Not when you have
Wasn't
the option.
all work homework?
Yeah, it's all homework, exactly. So. But
Yeah, I went to college. I went 2 years for digital media. Immediately realized that wasn't my thing, and dipped out of that one. But before that, yeah, it was just normal. I was in public school from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, and yeah. So I mean, I'm very used to the back to school feelings. I still get war flashbacks when I walk into malls and they're doing all their sales. I'm like, ugh. Some PTSD type stuff, man.
Yeah, I guess that's the silver lining to like no games really right now is like at least you're not, if you're going back to school, at least you're not missing out. You got a little time before the rush, but there is a rush happening, which we'll probably talk about a little later. My best back to school story, since I'm a notorious NCB, a no college boy, is my freshman year of high school. I started the year, like I remember registering and I was 5'2", and then midway through the year I was 6 foot, so I grew like 9-10-ish inches that year, or not even the whole year, and I got all 4 wisdom teeth in, so I was sick like 24/7. And the best part of that is that I gained virtually no weight. So I went from like being like 5'2", like 110 pounds, up to like almost 6 feet, like 118 or something, like very very minimal. So I was like stick and bones. Not much has changed, but I've grown a couple more inches and gained a few pounds at least. But let's talk about the pounds we've been putting on by playing Switch.
Yeah, boy.
Not a ton this week. In fact, I have to fess up and say that the game I put on here, I totally forgot to check out. So scratch that off the list.
oh,
Sorry.
you're going to talk about Oninaki?
Sorry, Oninaki demo. You didn't.
I played
can
it.
say
Oh, you
something
did?
real quick,
Gosh,
yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
for saving my butt.
We got you, man. We got you.
You guys
Yeah,
are
look at that.
You guys are real friends.
Of course. I was excited to see it had a demo. I love the team that worked on it. I believe they worked on 2 other Switch games, Lost Sphere and
I Am Setsuna as well.
I Am Setsuna, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I played a bit of both of them. They were really fun. I didn't beat them, so there is like that side of things where it's like I was hyped to see that they're working on a new thing, but also not too hyped because I didn't dive in too deep. But yeah, I was surprised it was an action RPG, which was dope. It played super nice. I thought the art style was cool, And yeah, I had a good time. I like to see that the save file from the demo is accessible from the full game, so we don't have to play that hour.
Can we talk about what we experienced in the demo? I mean, it's out there for everybody. Is it a spoiler to talk too much about it?
No, at this point, no.
I mean, the story was enticing the second I dived into it. It's kind of about this guy that is working with a girl that's a demon who's like helping transport like lost souls like in between like kind of the world beyond and this world, etc. And then within the first like story bit of the game, you were helping this kid to like who's dead like go back and talk to his family. And I won't spoil this, but it kind of ended a lot darker than I thought it was gonna end.
Yeah. And I mean, it was already shaping up to be dark, considering this kid is like, can I just see my parents one more time? And I
thought it was gonna be like this cute, dead. Like kind of like a reuniting story where like reunite him, and he just gets to say goodbye to his family. I was gonna shed a tear and be like, oh, that's so sweet, and it was gonna be this happy thing. And then suddenly his family was like, maybe we should die too to be with you. And I was like, whoa there, that's taking it a step further than I expected.
I think it's gonna be an interesting game, and I like that the mechanics reflect being able to go between the living and dead. That was just really cool. I think it's really interesting, and I think it was fun for what it was, and like Trip said, the story was enticing. So I'm definitely picking it up. It drops this month.
Yeah, it's August 21st, so it's actually a couple days, and it is $50, so it's not a full price title,
which is a little pricey. I think it's a cool game. I definitely like the art style. The combat was a little lacking for me. I mean, it's a bit of a hack and slash in terms of that, but the story is definitely where it gets you. The story, the music, and the art is really fun. And if you're just getting it for a good story game, I think that's the way to look at it. At least for me, that's what I would play it for. Is the story. The story is really interesting. I don't really see it as
I agree with that.
You said it's 50 or 60?
It's 50.
Okay, I mean, I feel like for me it's more of like a 30-40 game. I have a hard time bucking up the 50 for it, but again, the demo's out, so if anybody wants to give it a try, that's the best way to do it. Give it a shot, and if you like the demo, then you can buck up for the rest of the game. But it is a cool title, so check it out.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that I know you guys were hyped about after Square's E3 conference. They had one of the best E3 shows this year, and that was one that I think we kind of picked out as like, ooh, that looks like it could be interesting. So glad to hear that it is interesting. For some reason, the combat I thought was a little bit more involved than it is, but what do I know? I haven't played it. I should do it. It's downloaded. I
think there's a lot of room for like the combat to grow, like because I could already tell that they have these different systems where you can switch between demons, and like there's a lot of upgrades and stuff. It's just like from what I played so far in the demo, it seemed pretty basic in terms of that, but it also seems like there's going to be a lot more later on. So I could be wrong on that.
There's like an entire skill tree and stuff, so I'm sure it does get crazy. But I do agree, it was very. I don't want to compare it to something like Kingdom Hearts, but I know a lot of people have a problem with Kingdom Hearts where they're like, it's press X the game.
Right.
It did kind of feel like that, but again, it does look like it would get deeper. But also, the story is what I'm going to be there for. I do like that it is a little bit more action-packed than the previous games, though, which were both turn-based, I believe. So that's cool.
Yeah, I used to be so much more into story, and now, like, I guess I'm like impatient. I'm just like gameplay.
Yeah, I get that.
And unless it's like a really, really intense story like Last of Us or something like that, then I'm like, okay, we'll go for that.
You'll give it a shot.
Let me press buttons. I want to press the buttons. Okay, so Oninaki is $50. GameStop is doing this thing where you can pay $75 to upgrade to the V2 Switch, the red box, better battery Switch. And I made a video where I said I don't think anyone should buy it. And at that time, GameStop was offering $200, so it would have been like a $100 upgrade. But would you get a better battery, like brand new Switch for $75?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, man. I mean,
really?
You sell your old Switch for $225, you upgrade to the new Switch, the V2 for just $300. So I don't know. It's tough. Like the extra 2 hours, like before, wasn't something that really interested me. But now that it's out there and it's like a better deal, I'm kind of like, it's definitely starting to grab my attention. But at the same time, $75, I could buy a AAA Nintendo title, or I could buy like 5 eShop games. So that's where the balance comes in. And at the time, I can't really afford either one of them. But my grandmas are like, I have 2 identical twin grandmas. They're both in town, so maybe I could like ask for an advance on my birthday or something. Twin grandmas, yeah.
That's not a bit. Yeah. That's a reality.
Well, I mean, they're not. Well, one of them's not technically my grandma. She's my like grand aunt, but they are identical twins. So I still kind of look at them as like 2 grandmas.
Hey, if they can't get you a Switch game, you could ask for some balloons and start that career out.
Someone beat me to the punch. They beat me to the punch. Maybe I could attack other things like. Give me something. Hats.
Switches.
Switches. Oh gosh, that's an expensive thing to blow up. Maybe not Nintendo Switches.
Yeah, because do note your Switch has to be in working condition in order to get the 225. You can't just like bring in your like blown up or dropped off a building or ran over. Yeah, and that doesn't work.
I think my problem with it is I will say it's a lot more enticing than, hey, buy a brand new Switch and possibly have to pay the difference, which wasn't a lot, or which was a lot before. But I mentioned it before, and I have the what's it called, the Let's Go Switch. So like for me to trade that in at this point, it's like,
that's sad.
What a huge downgrade. Like sure, I get 2 hours battery, but like man, I'm losing everything.
Yeah, that's not for you, Joseph. Don't do it.
It's not and again, it's also like the Lite comes out soon. We're a month away now, and I don't know if I just, again, the $75 really enticing. I think if someone can do it and they want to do it, now it's okay. It's a little less like, ugh, don't do that. But for me, it's still like a hard no. Even when I heard it, not even for a second did it really cross my mind whether or not I was going to bite. But
well, the point you brought up too for me is like during this time with the Nintendo Switch Lite coming out, I'm just like, I'd probably rather spend the money towards that at the moment, But having that extra battery life on my hardcore Switch is also exciting as well. So it's a toughie. I don't know.
I still think like go get like Link's Awakening or get Astral Chain, and like there are plugs everywhere. I get that, but how many people are on like an international flight where it's gonna die? And even then, they have plugs on the freaking seats. So it's like, to me, I don't think Nintendo ever intended for people to upgrade. So I'm gonna go by by their logic, which is there's no need to upgrade. I also heard that GameStop is aggressively pushing this because they want to load up on used Switches for the holiday season, so that they can try and sling those since they are struggling mightily. So. I mean, $225 is fine, I guess. There's also tax, like depending on where you live, like.
So it's not going to be exactly $75. It's probably going to be closer to like $80 or $90 overall.
Which in that case, it's like you can get like a cheap little like battery pack probably for like $15. Like maybe it's not going to be one of the nice Anchor ones, but like I don't know.
Yeah, my Anchor one was like $30 or $40 when I bought it on sale, and honestly, it's helped me a lot. Although I will say, I did just go on a flight where I went to Spokane, Washington, and it was like a couple hours here and there. I had like a layover, and it only lasted me like in the airport for a bit, and then I got through like one flight, and then I did still have to charge. And so, I mean,
what game were you playing?
I was playing Fire Emblem Three Houses, naturally.
I'm over here playing freaking Forager, which is like could run on an NES, so like I guess it just lasts forever. What's the Fire Emblem update? What's the Three Houses progress bar update?
Three Houses up. My update. Man. Okay, so Joseph beat it. How was it? How was it from the other end of the spectrum?
I was a little teary-eyed. And what I will say is now that I'm out, I am very, very, very happy I'm out. Wow, is that game all-encompassing.
Your life is back.
I can't go on the internet without seeing people sharing memes or talking about it, which is, good, but once I beat it, I was like, one of my friends asked me if I was going to do the New Game Plus right off the bat, and I was like, I'm going to enjoy this, because that game is very, very stressful. Like 90% of the time, and now that I know what happens, I know the different routes are very, very different, but I'm just gonna let it sit for a bit. I'm gonna play other games, but Trip, what about you? Where are you at? I think that's more interesting.
I'm still pretty close to just having gotten to the 5-year time jump. So I finally have the path. I know where my Black Eagles are going. I don't want to spoil anything on here, but it definitely turned out differently than I was expecting. Someone's kind of a lot more of a jerk than I expected them to be. I was like, oh, I thought I was playing for one side, and now I kind of feel like I'm totally playing for the other side. So it's interesting. It's a great game, though. I'm enjoying it a lot. I will say, like, where I'm at currently, I still think my favorite part of the game is just when it was all happy-go-lucky, and I was, like, teaching these students, and now we're, like, in war. We're in battle. And it's like, oh, well, you didn't recruit them, so now you got to go basically take out these other, like, sweet students that, like, 5 minutes ago you were sharing a meal with. So it's kind of intense, man. But I guess that's the whole point of the game. Like, it really does, like, kind of take you on this, like, oh, I don't know, you get to see what real war is like. Yeah, you had your friends over here, but now you're literally fighting those people. It's like the Civil War, like, all over again.
Yeah, I mean, in a very weird and real way, it does kind of force you to make choices that games don't usually do. Like, when there's a narrative in most games where it's like, all right, now you have to kill somebody you were close with, there's an understanding of that, and you're like, I have to do this. Everything about Fire Emblem's second half feels dirty. Like, it does not feel like you're doing the right thing.
Wow. Not at
I mean,
all.
I was on what I consider the good guys team.
Same.
And like no part,
and I was wrong.
Part of it, like no part of it felt righteous, and it was this really weird feeling because, like you said, the first half is like, oh, I'm like a professor at Hogwarts, and all my students love me, and they do, and even after the time skip, when war breaks out, they still do. Like, the dialogue between you, like they're always like, it's never I'm gonna kill you, professor. It's always like, I wish we were able to be on the same side, so and it sucks that we're not. But you do get to choose whether or not you kill, like, a lot of them. Like, I avoid a lot of the students. I'm like, all right, I'll let you live, but there are some that you just don't have that option, and it's very I mean, it's traumatic. So
things get dark, kids.
Yeah. So
yeah,
edgy.
but so that's the update, I guess, on Fire Emblem. It's taken a path. Joseph's done, but I am still in the thick of it. And once it's over, I will say, like, it is all encompassing. So I'm gonna have to take a break as well. There's part of me that's like, man, I really do want to see what the Golden Deer journey looks like now. I also want to check out the Blue Lion. So, but maybe that's like something to look forward to in the future. Give it a year, come back to it. I feel like this game holds up, and it actually is something that I could probably enjoy a year from now, go back to, and like try the other path. There's just a lot of other games coming out, so I'm like, I can't dive right back into this afterwards. So, but it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad that you guys are out of or at least Joseph, you're out of the stress of Fire Emblem. But you're really selling me on it. It's traumatic. It's stressful. It's not what you think.
I'm playing in normal mode, so it's a little less stressful. But
no, when I beat that last mission, I actually jumped for joy. I thought I was stuck because I thought I was underleveled, and I just didn't see a way out. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to switch it to normal, and if you switch it to normal, you can't go back up. So I would have played the entire game on hard, and then the last mission normal. So when I look at my save file, it'll say normal. Ooh, and I was like, rough. I'm gonna have to make that sacrifice. But I actually sat down, pen and paper, and planned out, like, I routed the entire like level. It was the worst experience of my life. But when it was done, I was like, that's not a video game anymore. That's a job, and I didn't get paid, so I'm not playing it for a while.
Joseph, you are like a real Fire Emblem gamer right there. That's hardcore. Like, see this guy hardcore. He wrote out pen and paper an entire skirmish strategy.
You may have just like recovered from your Pokemon mishap, and now maybe we'll forget about that, and we'll just remember that you pen and papered out the final battle of Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is remarkable.
Which is literally fire.
I'll live and die by that. Yeah. Thank you. Grit and all, guys. Grit and all.
I haven't been playing really anything on Switch. I think we're in like a holding pattern right now. Also, I've been traveling a decent amount. I will say it's not a Switch game, but I sure wish Borderlands 3 was on Switch. That is one heck of a game. It's very big. I played like 5 hours, but there's like I don't know developing or coding, but it sure seems like it could have been on Switch. It's not that pretty. It's not that crazy. So
yeah, and it I don't know, like I saw you were sharing like clips of it and talking about it, and every time I looked at it, it's so hard to not think, wow, this would be perfect on the Switch.
I mean, Doom Eternal is coming to the Switch.
Right?
And maybe I'm wrong here, but Doom Eternal to me looks like better, more high quality even than Borderlands 3 does. And it's not to say Borderlands 3 doesn't look fantastic. I'm just saying the art style itself is like meant to be a little grittier, less like pretty. And so I don't know, with something like Doom Eternal, it's just really surprising that we can't get Borderlands 3 on Switch. Maybe it's coming eventually, but I am just surprised they didn't like plan that from the get-go, because I don't know, it just seemed like a no-brainer.
Well, the direct comparison, like The Outer Worlds is a massive game that has more realistic graphics and like time slowing mechanics and, you know, side quests and tons of dialogue. I mean, if they can make that work, perhaps it's just, you know, an expensive undertaking. Maybe it comes eventually, but if you are one of those, as EA says, whatever they call 80% of people, which just seems exaggerated, that owns a PS4, Xbox One, and a Switch, then Borderlands 3 is a heck of a good time. And it's like a callback to gaming from like 5 years ago. But in this case, it's a super good thing that it feels old, especially if you're kind of sick of games as services, sick of, you know, looter shooters today. It's like an FPS that has a lot of story, and the planets make a huge difference. Like the fact that the scenery, the enemies, and just like the vibe changes frequently is a lot of fun. Maybe on Switch one day, probably not, but either way, it was still cool. I guess the last game. Well, Joseph.
Yeah.
Let's fight Forager versus Dragon Quest Builders 2. A lot of people were telling me that I'm wrong for liking Forager instead of DQB2. So what is it about DQB2 that has you hooked?
Yeah. What's funny is hearing you explain Forager and then me looking into it on my own. I understand the comparison between the two games, but they are so vastly different, and not even just because of visuals, not even because of story. It's just like the goal of it is so different. With Dragon Quest, I got it on release, and I want to say it released with so I think it released with God Eater, like the same day they dropped, and I picked up God Eater and Dragon Quest. So I went to God Eater immediately because it's like anime and I want to try it out. Even though I guess Dragon Quest is also... All right, enough of that. Anyway,
Joseph, you're such a gamer. Trip, let's just take a moment of silence to admire Joseph. He just buys every release. Doesn't matter if it's anime, RPG. The real test
he does it all, man. And then he plans out a grid on how he's gonna battle.
Do you have a weekly schedule for how you're gonna play these games?
Yeah, I actually delegate my time on the same piece of paper on the other side of the Fire Emblem.
I want to see this paper, man. What did that look like?
I wish I kept it. I really do. It's in my trash. I threw that out immediately. But so yeah, I played Dragon Quest Builders finally, and it had one of the slowest starts to a game I've played in a long time. And I was just like, man, I'm not feeling it. I know everyone on the internet, almost as much as Fire Emblem, like people who've played it are like, wow, this potentially game of the year for some people. And I'm like, I'm not seeing it, but also I'm going to keep going. And man, you just hit a certain stride within the first, like, I want to say like you hit like the 2-hour mark, 2.5 hour mark. And you're like, okay, and now I kind of see the gameplay loop. I kind of see what I'm going to be doing here. And then the world just opens up and it becomes so much more fun. And they even do this really smart thing that in between loading screens, they show other people's like worlds and like creations. And that does a fantastic job of like, wait, that's possible. Like there are many times where like people have made like cities and I'm like, wait, you can do that. And it furthers the want to play and make this. Also the fact that it's co-op makes it so much better than the first one. Even though it is interesting the way they did it, you can't progress through the story together. You just have an island that your friends could come in and help you build your city or your whatever you want to build. But yeah, I think what makes it special in a weird way is the fact that it's Dragon Quest. I'm not a huge Dragon Quest fan, not because I think it's like trash. Quite the opposite. I know the importance it holds, but I just never played any of it. Besides the first Dragon Quest Builders. But man, they are so like, it is so unapologetically itself. I mean, even if like anybody, have you guys played Hero in Smash? Yeah. His move names, even the move names like Kaklang or you know, whatever the other ones are, like they're so silly and it's just fun. And that's like the best thing I could say about it. It is just, you're nonstop having fun. It doesn't feel like a chore. And I think that's the difference between it and its, contemporaries, I guess, where it, just like Forager, it turns the monotony into like this calming, almost, I don't know. That's the gameplay loop, is that you're calm while doing it. So you want to do more, and then you're playing for 2 hours, and that's just it. So in that regard, I do think it's one of the best in what it does, like compared to a Minecraft or any of those.
Ding, ding, ding. In this corner, we have It's Calm and It's Fun. All right, Zach, what do you have for us?
My new elevator pitch for Forager, I thought I did a good job on selling it, but my new pitch is like, think of a Mario level, like a 3D Mario level, where it's just constantly raining coins, and there's something inherently satisfying about just seeing Mario collect all the coins and hearing they're like ding 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 ding, and just it's just like raining coins, or like the allure of seeing someone in one of those like money machines where like the dollar, you're just like grabbing the money. Like Forager is just constantly like hitting you, like you're doing great, amass, and like, yes, it's not winning awards. No, Forager is not on my game of the year list, but it's fun for just like hitting that like human hidden desire to like grow. I mean, it's very simple. Like, but I guess what I want to know is like what opened up in that 2 hour mark, like you're saying, like that changed builders for you.
I want to say like it was something as easy as they got the setup out of the way for the story, and now it's just kind of, it's your world. But there was so much more to that. It does this interesting thing where it kind of tells you, hey, you can do whatever, but for story-related reasons, you can't. Like, there are actual... So, just as an example, you want to grow crops? Well, the first island you're on has this problem where all the grass is just completely ruined. Like, you can't plant anything.
How convenient.
Am I lagging? No, okay. I thought that was like real quick.
No.
Yeah. So it's just like all the grass is just dark, and you're like, oh, great. And this is supposed to be the place, like the best island for farming and stuff. So you're just like, great. Now I need to do something story related. And then you figure it out, and you just slowly get the pieces to build whatever you want and do what you want. And it is very much tied to story, which is so different from Forager, I'm sure, where Forager is kind of you're progressing, but you're progressing off your own progression. Like, you're getting better.
Yeah, you're just making numbers and skill trees go up. There's no one's talking to you. Well,
exactly, and
very, very sparingly. Like, they're saying like, I would like 50 fireflies, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that to me is probably the biggest difference in what they provide, and that's why they can coexist. They don't have to be compared to each other.
They have to be compared. we were told that in the comments.
Continue. Yeah. So I don't know. It was just really fun once they gave you the tools needed to have fun.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out that they were like holding everything at the beginning. They're like, here's all the stuff you can do, but not yet. And then when you finally get it, it feels rewarding. And you never feel like everything is too crazy, which actually I wanted to ask you about Forager, because your video on it, honestly, and hearing you speak about it so often, like really, really makes me want it.
I'm probably overselling it at this point. Like, it's...
No. I honestly don't think you're overselling it. I think it really comes through how much the game, like, for some reason, like, hit a chord with you. And that is making it hit a chord with me, where I'm like, I'm going to pick it up. But every time I look at gameplay, like higher level gameplay, it seems so scary. Like, there's so much stuff going on.
It's so non-threatening. You won't die.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I guess, like...
I'll find a way, trust me.
Yeah,
I always do.
There's just so much happening, and it gives me anxiety. But like, I'm sure that they ease it into you. Like,
oh yeah, dude. Like, you start off literally where you're like, this is how you mine, like, one, and then by the end you're like, blah, 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 and like getting so many things at once. So it ramps up, but that is, I think, the pull is like, I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm schizophrenic when playing it, but it's like everything is just rolling through. Like, there's a bar that keeps track of actions on the side, and it's just like, this was built, this was crafted, this was acquired, this is happening, and like it just rolls. It's not scary. I would say, in fact, there is a cathartic ease about just having things like, man, I just got 1,500 gold ingots. Wouldn't that be nice if that was my actual life? Like, it feels good. It feels good. No, Builders 2 I did play, and I actually loved the first hour. So I'm sad.
Really?
I'm sad that it was unfortunately stolen from me by Mua 3 and Fire Emblem Three Houses and Forager. But I do need to go back to it. So I guess, do you think it's totally worthwhile if you aren't going to be the create a city guy? Like, because I will never go and build my own structure. Like, are you still happy with it?
Yeah, I'm honestly, I don't think I'm going to be a create a city guy either. I do enjoy seeing other people doing it, and I think there's even an option to visit people's stuff.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But I'm playing through the story, and I'm gonna be honest, like, even on the smaller scale, like somebody's like, create a house for us because you have to for story progression. That stuff is so fulfilling that honestly, it's just constant, like, small things that, by the time you're done, you did build a city and you didn't even realize it. So in that way, yeah, I think it completely holds its quality throughout, even if you don't consider yourself extremely, the creative type, which in those games I don't. Like, I don't usually like going crazy and trying to figure out how to make things in Minecraft move on their own, Like, that's just not my thing. But
so with a big grand scale game like this, you can build cities, you can go fight, you can build houses. How all encompassing is it compared to a game like Fire Emblem?
Oh man,
is it in the same category, kind of in the same boat? Does it require the same amount of detail?
You could draw your plans for the city.
You can, and it's also on a grid based thing. Considering the blocks, they're both very encompassing for
different reasons.
Very different reasons. Like, Builders is, you can do essentially anything. Where, if you want to, even the water physics work realistically. Like, I helped get a village water. That's insane to me. But
can you pop balloons in interesting and exciting ways?
You know what? Haven't gotten that far yet, but I'm sure you can.
Eventually.
I'm sure that one guy figured it out already. But compared to Fire Emblem is very much like, it's just the mechanics are so deep, and the social
totally
aspect is so deep. Imagine being like, we're going to give you 50 characters, all of which have hundreds and hundreds of dialogue options, and you can, talk to them in individual. Like, it's just a lot. It's a lot to take in. It really is a book, but I enjoyed it. But yeah, I think they're all encompassing for very different reasons. It was a great read. Would read again.
I kind of wish that this was like Super Mario Builders. I guess it's kind of Mario Maker in a way, but like, I think if it was Super Mario Builders, because everything I read about Dragon Quest Builders is like, it's so good, it's so strong, it's such an improvement on the first game.
Yeah.
It just seems like for the general gaming populace, maybe the Dragon Quest brand doesn't carry as much cachet as like, if it was Minecraft or if it was Mario or whatever. But I'm gonna make you go play Forager, and you're gonna make me play Dragon Quest. So
I'm 100% down.
And then while you guys do that, I'm gonna start trying to design a balloon popper.
Okay, great. This is beautiful. We've all found our calling. This
is good.
This podcast is clearly worth its time.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's not a lot out, but something is coming out that a lot of people are excited for. Apparently, 5 million pre-orders, preloads.
Yeah.
For Pokemon Masters.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but it's like unfairly out for Android in a couple of countries.
Yeah.
And the reason I say unfair is because I don't have an Android phone, so that's why it's unfair.
I don't have an Android phone either, so I can't get it regardless of where I am.
But so many people have just gone and created like the alternate account for Canada or whatever and downloaded it.
Mm-hmm.
It bugs me so much to see people playing it and know, like, I've got it on pre-order, but like, no, people are already playing it. Like, what crappy store did I get this from?
Yeah.
I was looking it up the other day and stuff, and that all dropped, and I was like, wait, why are there so many videos of people playing it? And I was like, oh, it's because it's already out. And I was like, but I can't get it, so it's kind of aggravating. But I was watching some playthroughs and stuff, and it looks like a fun game. I can already tell you that the microtransactions are gonna make me pull my hair out. But other than that, like, I love the idea that it's really more anime based or like game based, and that you're just like recruiting characters. It's more about the characters than it is necessarily about the Pokemon, which is very different for a Pokemon game. But I think it's fun. I think it's a fun switch up. Some people are angry that there's not more Pokemon to choose from yet, but like the whole point of the game is that you're like making a team instead of we lost our boy.
Okay.
There he is.
So Pokemon Masters, right?
Yeah. I don't know how much of that we can use, but
All of it.
It's neat
all
because
of
it
it.
is pairing the trainer with their specific Pokemon, and it is a clearly microtransaction motivated decision, because then you can go and pull your favorite trainer or your favorite Pokemon, and they happen to be tied together, and you can go through and keep getting them. It seems like the gameplay is decent. Obviously, it deviates from like typical Pokemon battles.
the attack pattern is kind of more based on like what Pokemon Quest was, where you're just kind of pressing like one
Right.
attack and it's going and it has to recycle, which is kind of fun. I honestly enjoyed Pokemon Quest a lot.
Did you?
So even with that in mind, like I'm all right with that. I don't fully know what to expect yet. Like, with the whole 3 trainers at a time, 3 Pokemon, like it's interesting. But I guess I could just go watch a bunch of other videos on people playing it since there's so many of them out there.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of information, and even the Twitter's like slowly rolling things out. Like there are different types of pairs. There's the like attackers, the support. So like there is like a meta game that they are trying to build around it, which is good. Like I'm very happy to know that they are going at least slightly competitive with it. So that way, like it's not just, because I also enjoyed Pokemon Quest, but a lot of people's complaints were that it didn't go very deep, which it didn't, but I don't think it was trying to. It was kind of like a Myths of Mystery Dungeon in the Rumble series, which was
But
fun.
what other game on earth are you going to use a Farfetch'd that often? And that's what I liked about it. It incentivized me to actually use Pokemon I wouldn't normally, because like you almost had to, and it was kind of cool. It like required me to catch and train different Pokemon than I normally would have. So I don't know. I enjoyed Pokemon Quest just for that, and their little pixelated like tiny cube art
that
style.
was
It was like
cute.
I was playing Pokemon Minecraft. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Pokemon Masters.
Here's what I wanted to pull up for you guys. Why I'm worried about Pokemon Masters, because I'm really excited for it. I love the art. I love the idea of the pairs, but did you know that there are all of these games already on iPhone for Pokemon? You have Pokemon Go, obviously, if you've heard of that one, pretty successful. As you mentioned, Pokemon Quest, Pokemon Duel, Pokemon Rumble Rush, Pokemon TV, Pokemon Magikarp Jump, Pokemon Playhouse. Like there are Pokemon
there's a ton
Shuffle
of
Mobile. There are a lot of games, and I don't know that any of them, I mean, I'm sure there is an audience, but I don't know if any of them outside of Go have really resonated yet with like the hardcore gaming community.
But this just had a 5 million pre-download, and I think it all depends on the marketing for me. I feel like a lot of those other games you mentioned, besides Quest got a little fanfare.
Yeah.
But like I always look at it in terms of like how they market it is how much they believe in the game, and I feel like a lot of those weren't marketed, which means they didn't really believe in them.
Okay.
This game, at least, they've put a lot into it. I mean, they did a whole like kind of direct thing for it. So I at least feel like this is their attempt at creating something that they truly do believe in, and it's supposed to be more of a contender against, Pokemon Go, etc. So it'll be interesting. I don't think it looks like it's gonna hold up at all as well as like Pokemon Go or anything.
Right.
But I do think it might actually still be a win for them, and I'm excited to play it. I've been more excited for this than I have for any of those other games.
Yeah,
so.
me as well. I'm just worried because I guess like the idea of like a new Pokemon mobile game sounds so alluring until you realize that there's like 8 of them already out there. And Nintendo, like everyone's waiting with such bated breath for Mario Kart Tour to come out, because Nintendo, when they put them out, whether we personally like them, like they have been very successful. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, Fire Emblem Heroes. And I'm just wondering if this is going to be like, well, it's another one like Pokemon Rumble that people, play a little bit and don't care about. Or if there is some secret sauce. It sounds like, I watched a couple like playthroughs, and it sounds like people like it. It's just hard to know, like, will it last beyond 2 days? Is this something you're going to want to dump $50 into because you want to keep playing? And I'm worried that the battles aren't turn-based. That to me seems odd. I don't like that it's like they just go.
Yeah, I think it is pretty weird that the battles are like that. But what I will say is I have a very optimistic look on this game in particular for mainly 2 reasons. And they're kind of the same reason, but for... so anyway, the big thing is that Ken Sugimori, the artist who does Pokemon, who pretty much like designed the look of Pokemon as we know it, is kind of the reason that this event came to fruition. He literally said that he wanted a Pokemon game that had all of the trainers that he drew interacting with one another. And they were like, well, you know what? Let's do that. So already the official artwork and even the artwork in general is Pokemon. Like the thing with Quest is that it was adorable, but it wasn't Pokemon. It was like Pokemon parallel. Like it was, and same thing with, Rumble. People liked Rumble when it was on the Wii, but I don't know how long, it doesn't have lasting power of the actual franchise. But, everything else like that, it's very artistically, it just doesn't feel Pokemon. Even with Let's Go, they didn't get Ken Sugimura to do the character art. So there was this like strange feeling of like the professors and all the drawings in it didn't look very Pokemon-esque, but it still felt like Pokemon. And I think that's why Pokemon Go was such a hit. It made everyone feel like a trainer. This feels like a official Pokemon game. It is the trainers from the series that everyone loves, which is my other point. I think that there's so much to be said about the characters in Pokemon that people do not give enough credit to. Everyone's always talking about like, what gen of Pokemon are your favorite? But the trainers to me have always been more interesting, just because like that's what got me into art. Like drawing characters in that style has literally been my driving force. I love the style that they're drawn in, and how it evolved. So like I'm so excited to see characters that we haven't seen in years finally having a chance to kind of show themselves off again. And I mean, like, it looks like they interact with one another. It just feels so much more alive, and it doesn't feel soulless like these other games, especially not these other Pokemon mobile games. Like, I actually downloaded the Rumble Pokemon game because they were doing a special event, and I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try. I can tell nobody's playing that game right now. Like, it just feels so alone. And that's not a feeling you want to have when playing anything that has
I agree
anything
with
to do
Joseph, though, that I
franchise.
think this is going to be more of like a game for those that enjoy the
More
anime
core,
and the characters. Yeah, and I already appreciate it for that. I love like seeing the faces. Like there's Flannery, there's obviously Brock and Misty, but then there's a lot of other side characters that like only really hardcore people are going to know, which I think is really fun. And this in its own way does feel like a dedicated game for them. And I think that's why it's garnered a little more excitement. I hope they add May. Because May's one of my favorites from Hoenn. I haven't seen her in the roster yet, but maybe that's something I'll have to pay more money for. I don't know.
In my head, I'm like, how many are there?
A lot.
So many.
Like, but
more
to
than
do like the whole RNG of like micro, like there has to be like a couple hundred, right? Like,
way more, because they're not just doing like gym leaders and Elite Four and player Pokemon trainers. They're doing like NPCs from each, like, you know what I mean? So like you can get bug catcher, insert person here, or youngster Joey, the guy with the Eradicate eventually. Like, there's so much stuff that they can add. And I was actually talking to Trip before we started this. I want to know how far, because it is a gacha game, so people are going to sink money into it, hopefully for Nintendo's sake. But what I'd imagine is all of these games do very big crossovers. Like Dragalia Lost, one of Nintendo's other app games that I actually play quite a lot. It's really fun. Did a Fire Emblem crossover where they brought over a good amount of the heroes characters, which was awesome to see. And so I want to know what they can do with Pokemon Masters. Like, are they going to bring in anime exclusive characters? Like, we have Ash, who has never coexisted with the game characters. Would they do an anime special where they bring him in? There's just so much potential there.
I mean, they should.
Yeah, I think that would be
Although we
sick.
already started off with a Pikachu, so who's Ash gonna have? That'll be an interesting one.
Which I wanted to ask: are you guys upset that you're forced to have Pikachu? Because I feel like that's kind of whack. I feel like some people pulled back on that just a little bit, because I don't think you could change your Pokemon, and I don't even think they want you to like your player character. I don't think they expect a lot of people to keep them on the team. Like I actually think they're banking on the fact that we're going to have a team of 3 just trainers that we like.
Can you? So you can switch your character and their Pokemon eventually? Honestly, I mean, with that in mind, I'm fine with it. I feel like a lot of other people would honestly be upset if it wasn't Pikachu, because like, how come it's not Pikachu? So like on the same side, I just feel like they knew it's what everybody would expect, so they're like, oh, we got to make it Pikachu that you start out with. But at least, like you said, they are banking on people switching out, and at least you have that option. So I don't know. I don't think that really bothers me. Although it would have been a cool thing in the beginning to get to choose your character and your starter Pokemon. I feel like that's the ideal, but a lot of times, Nintendo doesn't think that way. So,
Plus, then if you start with Pikachu, you got to go buy more. Like I don't get to pick Bulbasaur at the beginning. I don't get to pick Cyndaquil. So then I'm gonna go dump some coins.
And they know that for the sake of the microtransactions. So I hope it's good as well. It's one that still has kind of a big question mark for me in terms of when I actually play it. Is it something that I'm going to want to continue to sit down with, or is it really just like you said, Zach, a 1 to 2 day thing and then I'm kind of done? So the cards are yet to be seen.
I remember when I first got my iPod Touch and I was downloading games, and like there was I want to say it was a Doom, like a dungeon crawl, like a Doom dungeon crawler, and it was like so impressive to me that it was on phone. And back then, like phone games were like every new release, like there's a Monkey Ball game on phone. I was like, oh my god, like Monkey Ball on phone. And over the years, and I guess just like with the Vita and the Switch, like it is so like not difficult for me to go from like this to this that like I don't know. It
doesn't interest you.
It will take a lot for Pokemon Masters to grab me, but I'm open to it because I've always dreamed of being really into a game that has a lot of. This is gonna sound horrible. I've always wanted to be involved in a game that has a lot of microtransactions because it's like that excitement of like, oh my god, maybe I'll get something. But you have to care about it to want to pay and to want to. Sounds like an insane person. I want to pay money to this game, but no, I do dream of that.
Yeah.
I was that way with Pokemon Go for a while. I enjoyed buying some of the stuff and and walking around. That was just an experience all in itself. I've definitely gotten past it since, but I know a lot of people. My brother is still playing it, and it's latched on to some people in their little heart.
There are groups here in Orlando. Like we'll be at different parts of Disney, and there'll be like it's a 40 plus. I'm talking age, not number. 40 and up group of Pokemon Go players, all just like swiping their phones. I'm like, I guess it like they're making friends or like me. That's kind of cool.
But I went to Barnes and Noble yesterday, and there was 30 people standing outside playing Pokemon Go. I was like, wow, you guys are still doing it. Well done.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's funny.
But we'll have to, we'll obviously August 29th, we'll all play it, and we'll let you know what we do. And I'm curious which of us. I feel like one of us will get lost down some wormhole of Pokemon Masters. We'll just have to see.
It'll be either me or Joseph, my guess, but
thanks,
I don't know.
Guys.
We'll see.
Thanks, I'm trying here.
That way you don't have. Well, I was saying so you don't have to.
Oh, okay, thank you. Another dream of mine is Virtual Console on Switch, and they are the biggest goofs for not making it happen from the beginning. But there now is a wireless controller, a SNES wireless controller, FCC filing, and it bears the HAC label on the back, which is what they've used for their NES wireless controller. So it's all but assured that SNES controllers are coming to Switch, and thereby games. So the thinking is that the 1-year anniversary of Nintendo Switch Online is coming up. The Switch Lite is coming out. It all makes sense to say, hey, we're adding this, re-up. We want people that bought the 12 months. Does that move the needle at all for you? Like, because the Switch now has so many games and so many cool eShop experiences, do you get excited about SNES games?
I've always been on the fringe that I personally think that, Nintendo Switch Online is pretty fine for what it is. Because again, it's only $20. And I know there's a whole argument and debate amongst that. It should be better, obviously. But, I do think the addition of the SNES games is exciting. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I don't think a lot of those games hold up in terms of, like, it's harder for me to get excited about them just because we have other things. Like, you've got Super Mario Kart, but I could go play Mario Odyssey. Or you've got Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, but I could go play, Breath of the Wild. But at the same time, actually, that's the one I'm most excited for. I definitely feel like I'm going to put some hours into Link to the Past if they bring it.
If they bring it in the beginning. You may wait a year or
might
6
have to wait
years
a year.
if they do two at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's an exciting addition. I do think it's just one more reason to have Nintendo Switch Online, absolutely, and I think that's a good reason to have. And those are definitely more exciting to me than just the NES games, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, just to not to echo everything. Yeah, I think it'd be a great addition. I do think at this point it's a definite. They're gonna do it. Everything is just. Man, it's real tough for Nintendo these days, huh? Like they just can't. What I'm more interested in seeing is how far are we going to go? Because, the classic versions of the consoles already came out. We have the NES Classic. We have the SNES Classic. When are we finally going to hit GameCube games?
I was going to say the same thing.
On these new, because like even with the Wii U, like there was it. okay, like I'm pretty sure everyone was waiting for GameCube games on the Wii U. Honestly, I think that would have helped it immensely. I think that could have been a great move, but obviously that thing died real fast. So in my head, does this mean we're going to slowly rise back up to newer titles? Obviously, it's going to be a little bit harder with stuff like the Wii, but that's understandable. But Nintendo 64 and GameCube, I think are well within what the Switch could handle. And if that's what the SNES coming to Switch Online, well, Nintendo Online means, if it's like a slight promise that, hey, we are going to slowly get these catalogs rolling out, even if it's just a best of, I'm fine with that. And that has me excited. Now, the SNES in general, like, I've played the classic and it's amazing. Some of those games are still, I was playing Contra 3 with my friend, and our minds were being blown at how much that game does. Like, I mean, there was like an over-the-top section where we like, how does this happen? So there's still like excitement to be had, but yeah, I'm still holding out for something a little better.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm pumped because I love like Donkey Kong Country, Mario World. I think the dream of the Switch being your portable Nintendo nostalgia machine still holds strong. I just am like, the more I think about it, the more confused I am by Nintendo's strategy with this whole thing, and they back themselves, I feel, into a weird corner, because to me the two smartest options for this were either sell them all piecemeal, which is great for Nintendo, or sell them as a subscription service, which is great for fans. Instead, they did neither. They attached them to the Nintendo Switch Online, where I feel, yes, it's an incentive for NSO, but they're also not as motivated to get them going because there's not a separate charge. And so you're in this awkward spot where it's like, okay, year 3/4 of the Switch, we get SNES. And if they're not going to do a big dump of like, hey, here's 100 great SNES games that you can get for your subscription, I don't think they ever get to GameCube. I don't think there's enough time. I mean, again, we'll be looking at like in year 4, we're getting to play like, here comes Diddy's Conquest on, so I would love to be a fly on the wall in the initial meetings where they debated Virtual Console and Switch, and I think the best argument is, and I kind of tried to allude to it, I think that they worried that a Virtual Console would sabotage the eShop. And what has become like the shining star of Switch outside of Nintendo's first-party titles, it's the eShop. And it's the success that developers and indie devs have had on the eShop. And I think if you load that up with Mario World and Donkey Kong and Super Metroid and Mario Kart and all this stuff, and then you bring in, Mario Party and Mario 64 and eventually get to Sunshine, like, I think that then suffocates the third-party and indie devs that feel like Nintendo systems sell Nintendo games, and that's all they sell. And now
Interesting.
You're basically just flooding your fan base with what they love, and maybe then games like Steam World Quest don't get made because the others didn't have as much success. And
unless of course they bundle them together and did like specific strategies, like like we have, if they sold NES 1, like part 1 or part 2, and it was just a collection of games,
so that would be great.
That
to me that would be awesome. Like these months where we don't have a lot of Switch releases, give me a $20 pack of here's like you said, SNES like Volume 1, and sell me like that's fine. Put it on a cartridge or make it
because then it's not a bunch of extra content in the eShop. It doesn't fill it up, but it's something specifically for those players that I would probably want to buy, and it actually makes it more exciting than just knowing that, okay, here's a handful of NES games here. I don't know, something about the charge also, like you said, it just means they're putting more into it, and they handpick these titles. It's more exciting. If there was an SNES pack, part 1, part 2, and then if they were doing that, then it would make sense that eventually we get to N64, we get to GameCube. Like, here's a GameCube pack of games. Here's I don't know. I just think that would be the way to go.
Well, and then I think, like, contrary to, it's just more old games, I do think the SNES inclusion moves the needle more than NES. I think people are way more about playing Link to the Past and Mario World on their Switch. And I think then you start to have a conversation where it's like, I pay $20, I get online, and I get access to like this. The app is great. Like the NES app is fantastic. So now I have an NES app, an SNES app, and maybe they are motivated then to start building it out. But to me, I almost just don't understand why they didn't do like the Disney Plus route of like, hey, it's $7.99, and I don't know. Numbers in video game companies aren't for me to decide, but I almost think that if you would have gone that route and had a Netflix style subscription and made online free, I wonder if they would have made more money. I wonder if they would have made more money just selling the virtual console and giving online for free than the flip side, which is sell the online and sort of pack in virtual console. But
yeah,
I'm not Doug Bowser, so
I'm almost positive that it would have panned out a lot better doing it the way you just said, because I think that's what a lot of people, that's what a lot of their problems are. We're paying for an online that's not great, but we are getting games on the side, which people can't really complain about, and especially not if it's SNES games, because now we're getting to at least the heavy hitters, because how many great SNES games are there that are timeless? I mean, the catalog, even like the leaked list of games that have been going around that should be coming, I mean, they look fantastic. They blow the NES out of the water. And so I think anyone's excited to get that. I don't think it's the addition of that people are like upset about. I think it just is the online is so lackluster that, like you said, I almost think the fact that we're paying for online is the problem. If we were paying for the SNES and the NES games and we got online for free, it's just something with the psyche where you're like,
it's a mental block of like, I don't want online. Like I think
exactly.
A Nintendo subscription is a draw to buy a Switch, but a Nintendo online subscription is not a draw to buy a Switch. So you have a person that doesn't have a Switch, if they knew, hey, I can get this and pay $10 a month and have access to all my old favorites, even if they don't give a crap about Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey, that's interesting. But no one's gonna say like, can't wait for Nintendo Switch Online. Oh, also you get these old games. It really is.
Yeah.
I think they goofed, but I still hope this happens. I still think it'll be cool. The NES controllers were very expensive, so not sure I'll be getting the SNES controllers. I think the Switch controllers are just fine. But it would be nice to load up the Lite with some extra stuff since it's tiny. That would be cool.
So tiny.
Smallest system ever. Don't quote
Speaking
me.
of controllers,
yeah, we've got these sad green Joy-Con. I was really hoping that Luigi's Mansion 3 would get something. And apparently it's not. Best Buy is doing a retailer exclusive double pack of green, and it's a good green. I like the green. It's the green from the Splatoon pack. People were saying like it's already achievable if you would have like imported the Japanese set and then bought the American set because they were flipped, I guess.
Opposite sides, yeah.
Well, I saw one for a neon purple and a neon orange that's coming October 5th.
That is true as well. Those are cool.
That's basically Luigi's Mansion 3. It's like the Halloween colors, or maybe it's Waluigi and Wario colors if you want to consider that spin.
You're onto something there. Like, yeah, okay.
Comes out October 5th.
I still love Joy-Con.
A little ahead of Luigi.
I still am getting them. I still love them, but I guess like I'm just sad that we're not getting more like game dedicated stuff. They went so hard on that last fall that it seems weird that they're not. But I guess the push is Switch Lite, and you can't attach these Joy-Con to Switch Lite, so maybe they don't care about me anymore. But are you guys going to be getting any new controllers before the year's over?
They're so expensive, but man, I'm really looking into those purple and orange that I just mentioned. There's a reason I mentioned it. It's because I'm kind of hyped for that. Yeah. I'm like, what better way to play Luigi's Mansion 3 than with those classic Halloween colors? I mean, I guess they're not really, because Halloween colors are a little darker than that.
Black and orange.
But but still, purple and orange. It feels right. It does feel right, and I'm kind of excited about that. So
yeah, I think seeing new Joy-Cons are very exciting. Just because we've gone so long without a new pair, so to have like 3 coming out, because then there was the other one. I don't remember the colors off the top, but when they announced the revision of the Switch, they did show the 2 new pairs of Joy-Cons. So
what is that third pair? I'm completely like blanking.
Yeah, it was like blue and yellow.
Oh,
I think.
yeah, it's blue.
It was exactly blue and yellow, because actually
it's flat blue.
A little bit of
yellow. Yeah.
A little bit of a problem I have with the pack. I find it extremely weird that they didn't go, and don't get me wrong, I do like the way the pads are, but it's just a little bit awkward that they didn't go blue and orange and yellow and purple, considering complementary colors are a thing. And I don't know what the thought process was. They used 4 colors that could totally work well together, but they swapped the...
Maybe that's the point. You have to buy all 4 if you got OCD.
Man, and I will. No, I probably won't. I don't know. I want to pick up all of them, but
They're
like $80.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that they've got a neon and a flat. Like, I'm surprised it's not neon yellow and neon orange and then purple and blue. Like, I don't know how weird. I don't know. It probably won't look weird, but what the heck? I'm buying all 4. Sorry, I'm probably
He's getting them all.
I'm getting them all.
He's doing it all.
Yeah, you're right. At least they have new ones. It was like 500 some days since the announcement.
I mean, if you've bought a lot of the other packs, wouldn't by now wouldn't you already have like essentially 2 green controllers?
So I have I don't have a duplicate of the Splatoon 2. So I have the imported Splatoon 2 one. So I've got right pink and left green.
Oh, okay.
And then I have yellow from the ARMS set. So blue, purple, and orange are new. Yeah, they're cool. They're neat. I like your whole Halloween thing. That's a good justification for buying them on launch. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think so. It makes me feel like Halloween.
It's hard though because there's so much coming out, and I did want to touch on like the end of the month because it's pretty crazy. And Nintendo plays. Yeah. You know, they play in this game. They've got Astral Chain. But we're loaded up with like Control, Astral Chain, this weird game called Ancestors from Patrice Désilets. There is Remnant from the Ashes, which looks like a Dark Souls shooter that's super cool. There's probably more than I'm forgetting, but I kind of want to just know like what you're hyped for, like what you're targeting in the next couple weeks here.
Man, currently I guess like before we move on to anything else, yeah, Astral Chain definitely gonna pick that up. I'm glad I cleared the Fire Emblem hurdle to be able to play another Switch game for once. I just don't know a lot about that game other than the fact that it's Platinum Games, but you know.
There was this weird quote where they tried to say that the combat was inspired by Pokemon. I don't know if you saw this. And I was like, I don't even understand how that makes sense.
I didn't see that. I guess I get the thought process.
How?
Like you're controlling the Legion.
I guess.
I don't know though. It's so not what Pokemon is, unless they're like, oh well, if Pokemon was an action RPG, this is how it would play. But also, you don't have police officers, futuristic police officers fighting demons with their own demon in Pokemon.
That sounds just like Pokemon.
Officer Jenny is going to get a little wild in Pokemon Masters, Joseph.
Whoa. I didn't even think about her being in Masters, but yeah, wow. Officer Jenny.
Better be.
So, to give you the exact quote here, it was the director of the game saying, in Astral Chain, the player summons and fights alongside a Legion. I really love Pokemon, so maybe the idea of calling on another character to fight alongside was greatly influenced by my childhood.
Okay.
So, but then he says, you can use your Legion to steer it around and clear up the red matter. It kind of becomes like using Mario to collect coins. So this dude was just inspired by everything Nintendo. Thank goodness he got to put it on Switch. Right?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
It'd
be really awkward.
Yeah.
I guess I see where he's coming from when you spell it out like that, but just looking at it, I'm like, I would never in a million years think Mario or Pokemon based on this game. No. I just think straight like JRPG or anime, but like in a more combat action style. So, yeah. But it looks cool. It does. I don't want to get too far ahead, but we had kind of a question that related to this a little bit about the game.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, in the beginning, it was something I was far more hyped for. But I just feel like the hype has tapered off. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is because they put so much focus into Fire Emblem, or they're putting so much more focus into just other titles. But it does kind of feel like the entire hype train for this has died off a little, which gets me less stoked to get it. But I already had planned on getting it because it did look great upon that initial showing, and what I've seen of it looks cool. I'm just, for some reason, I'm suddenly just having a hard time inspired by it. But I know I'm gonna pick it up.
It's because I siphoned it from you. Because now I wasn't excited at the beginning. Now I'm very excited, and I feel like since Gabe is unable to be here right now, I have to carry the torch because that was his most anticipated game. And Astral Chain, like, I don't know, I've seen sequences where they show like the detective work and some of the different gameplay styles. It does look very, very cool, and it seems like it is a beefier game than I expected. So I'm super excited for it. It's just going to be tricky because I'm also excited for just about everything else I listed at the end of the month. Control is like my game of the year.
That's what I figured.
If unless it comes out and is terrible, like I don't see anything beating it. It is the crispiest game I've controlled in ages. It is X-Men the game. Yeah, it's nice.
It looks it. It really does look incredible. It's crazy to think that I didn't even know the game was dropping this month. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah, it's odd because Remedy is like those are good people. Like, they had an exclusive deal with Microsoft for Quantum Break. Alan Wake was a huge, started out as kind of like a cult hit, but then became very well known. So it's interesting to me that they went with 505 Games for this one on the publishing side, and maybe it's that just it's not like, you know, being pushed by Microsoft or pushed by Activision, so it doesn't seem as out there. I think they're smart to go for an August date. It's been getting a lot of coverage from like the PlayStation blog and things like that, so I hope it does well for them. They were exclusive to Microsoft for Alan Wake and for American Nightmare, and then for Quantum Break. So this is their like being bold and doing what we want, and I hope it pays off. So
yeah, definitely.
We have to play Remnant though. That game I haven't had a chance yet, but it looks so cool. I don't know if you guys checked out the trailer that I sent you guys.
Yeah, yeah. When you showed me the name, I looked it up, and it wasn't. I don't know what I was expecting, but it looks really cool. Like I love the way it looks, like the actual design of it.
I'm not gonna lie, I totally do not remember what this game is.
That's okay,
but that's all right. That's all right. I'll look into it later.
Tell
me about it. Tell me about it. Game.
It's from Perfect World. It is a like okay. Ugh. Dark Souls with a shooter, but procedurally generated areas, kind of like a roguelike, where you're going through and you'll roll a map, and so you could have different bosses. You're progressing through, collecting loot, upgrading your character, and then, you know, going back in for deeper runs, fighting the bosses, getting different roles from the different bosses. 3-player co-op, but very difficult. The enemies aren't going to just like take a shot and go down. It's much more like you have to really work together. There's classes, so one is a ranged class, and sort of a middle class, and then an up-close melee class. But it sounds kind of like it was game designed by numbers, like they just pulled from all these directions. But if you actually watch the footage and listen to people that have played the game, apparently it comes together super well. Apparently they did find like a really good mix where it's super fun to go into the world, see as Joseph mentioned, the really coolly designed enemies, and then battle it out, get loot, hopefully beat the boss, and then come back. And it seems like the game is very ripe for constant updates, given that the maps are procedurally generated. They can just throw a different boss in there, throw different loot in there. It's not full price. It's on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and it's just one of those mid-tier games that somehow looks like it really steps beyond its budget.
Yeah. I actually didn't know it was a mid-tier game. I thought it was full AAA. I thought it was going full price. And that's why I was a little worried when I heard it was kind of like a roguelike type of game. But, you know, now that you're saying, number one, it's not full price, which honestly, again, I think it could have absolutely been the way it looks.
Yeah, it's very pretty. Like,
very, very pretty. And that was like the biggest thing that drew me in at first, was just like the actual design of everything, like I mentioned before. But yeah, I think it looks like a lot of fun, and you know, at the end of the day, that's all it needs to be. And if people are already saying they enjoy it, then I think it's going to be a fun game on release. I just wonder how many headlines it's going to make, you know? Like, I hope it doesn't get lost.
It probably will. That's the sad thing, is like there's so much coming out, and I wouldn't say that anything coming out is like huge, luckily, you know, for the case of getting, you know, like you said, headlines. But it's tricky. It's funnily $40, so Oninaki is more expensive.
Wow,
that's funny.
That puts things in perspective a little bit.
The monsters look insane.
Dude,
they're like
it's crazy.
Winged dragon demon-esque things.
Yeah,
that's pretty sick.
It's honestly insane. That's why I'm shocked that it's not a full price game.
My two criteria for this to be successful are: one, the shooting's got to feel good. It can't feel like a mid-tier shooter. And then two, I really hope that I can have some fun by myself. I hope I don't need 3 people to get through these levels, because I know you guys are we make a three. I don't want to say threesome. We make a group of 3. But outside of that, it's really hard for me to find people to play games with. So I would love to be able to do it by myself at least some of the time. But we don't do this show by ourselves, because we have you, the lovely fans, and you lovingly set in some questions. So we're going to kick those off. As I mentioned last week, there will be a tweet on the day we record, and if you reply to it, maybe your question will be featured. Maybe not, but it's on Twitter, twitter.com/theswitchforce. Stay alert for the tweet. Turn your notifications on. And that is what Mr. Hernandez57 did. And he asks, will we ever see Call of Duty on Switch? I would be content with a Call of Duty collection or any Call of Duty at this point. I just really want a great FPS on the go.
Man, what a this is my favorite question, honestly, because I would rep the Switch so much harder than I already do. I already rep it so hard, but I would rep it so much harder if we had any ounce of first-person shooters. Obviously, we do.
Doom.
We have games. We have Dooms. Yeah, Doom and Wolfenstein, which I even said, like, Wolfenstein I think was super fun. But I mean, like, good arcadey online shooter, we just do not have. You know, people could point at Paladins and be like, that's a thing, but that's Overwatch. Like, that is a whole different type of game. There is nothing as snappy and as, like, fast-paced and fun and just pick up and play like Call of Duty in the FPS genre on the Switch right now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so stupid that no Call of Duty had even attempted to come on this console, because I honestly think there is a huge market for it. But sadly, I don't think they care, especially with, I mean, I don't know if you guys are super following Modern Warfare, the new game. They're going in a direction that I think a lot of people are happy with. I'm happy with. I think it looks like a return to form, but also it looks like they're learning, you know, from things that, like, kill streaks are back. That's a huge thing. And just the gameplay itself, it looks like they're looking at games like Siege and being like, well, how do we take some of this but also keep that arcade fun? And in my head, what I'm thinking is, like, they're really doubling down on the esports side of things. I think they're trying to make this big again. I think this is their Modern Warfare 2. You know, that's what they want. Yeah. And because of that, I don't think Switch appeals to them at all. I think I even remember when Black Ops 4 was coming out, they were asked, I think, is that Treyarch? Treyarch develops the Black Ops games, right? Something like that.
They shift those developers around. There's rumors that next year's have been shifted again, so yeah.
But they asked them, like, are there any plans on the Switch? And they just laughed, like, legitimately laughed. And you know, it was extremely disrespectful, but you have to understand their headspace. Like, they're trying to build in a complete opposite, like, side of gaming. They want it to be competitive. They want it to be the new standard for shooters. So, like, the Switch just, I mean, obviously we could all be like, you know, Call of Duty would be great on the Switch, and I think it would be. I think it'd be super fun, but I don't think it'd be great for them. I don't think it makes too much sense other than sales. I don't think it would flourish as much on the Switch as it will on Xbox and P4, and now, you know, PlayStation 5. And
I personally think that anything Call of Duty would sell fine on the Switch. I don't even personally think that's the problem. I even think, for the most part, yeah, it's not going to look as great. That's a given. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the biggest problem is just the online, and we already talked a bit about this.
Yeah.
I just feel like no matter what, it's such an online game, and if it's dropping frames left and right, or if it doesn't hold up, like, that's going to be the biggest problem for people playing it. And so I feel like, so with that in mind, it's Nintendo's online really needs to shoot up in order to be able to play something like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't see a problem with it. I do think it'd be super fun to play on the Switch, and I feel like if it ran well, if it looked decent, if the online worked, I feel like a lot of people would buy it. I would play the new Modern Warfare on Switch. Absolutely. It'd be hilarious and awesome all at the same time to be able to play that on the go. I don't know. I think it'll eventually happen. Maybe. I just don't really think it's going to happen with this iteration. Maybe with the Pro, by that point, they'll get it working to the degree that it could.
To me, there's like 3 reasons for this, and any of them seem valid. I don't think Black Ops on Wii U was very successful. So I think then they look, and probably initially there's concerns about, you know, numbers in online. It seems like the subscriptions for online are going up, but maybe there's a threshold they wanted to hit. And then obviously, as you mentioned, Trip, it's like, does it even work? And then I wonder if, though, something like Mortal Kombat 11 having extreme success will shift the needle at all, like a hyper-violent game. But at the same time, whether it's the esports direction or the visceral direction, I also wonder if, like, Call of Duty is so important to them. Do they want to risk sacrificing the brand? Like, ooh, it looks crappy on Switch. Ooh, it doesn't perform great on Switch. Like, the brand is already not what it used to be. So if we're looking, as you mentioned, to build it back up, like, is it worth sacrificing? Now, what I think could happen is, as Mr. Hernandez mentioned, like, bring either an older game or even a complete spin-off. Like, that would be okay, but maybe then people are, oh, this is like baby Call of Duty instead of the real one.
I'm on board for baby Call of Duty. I'll take it. That sounds awesome.
Actual babies. I mean, Modern Warfare is supposed to let, there's kids in that, so, nothing's off limits, I guess, anymore. But I also think that, even though I don't agree, and I think they're crazy for using the excuse that everyone that, has a Switch also has a PS4 and Xbox One, like EA has justified Madden and other titles not coming. Maybe that's Activision's justification as well. Maybe they sit there and say, you know what, the people that would play Call of Duty on Switch probably have an Xbox One and PS4, and would they really buy it on Switch? Here's my I'll meet you halfway. I propose that they bring either Zombies to Switch or Blackout to Switch, something that is a lower investment and would still like elicit a lot, but doesn't. I know that doesn't give you what you want, Joseph, like the TDM traditional arcade online, but. To me, once that system gets to 40, 50, 60 million, like hard to ignore, but maybe you just aren't willing or wanting to, risk your main title for all the reasons.
Just give me Call of Duty 3,
And
that
literally
far back?
anything.
Yeah, I'd play that far back. That game was fire, dude.
Well, or
I still
even
go back and play that occasionally.
Like if they brought out like Modern Warfare Remastered on Switch, like how they have
I
those,
don't know.
That seems like an easy one.
I mean, there's so much it could draw from, even like you said, the Zombies and Blackout thing. I mean, it would flourish so much on the Switch, and the fact that they don't see it is just, it's so bizarre to me. It really is weird to think that they're, like, I have an Xbox and a PlayStation, and I honestly want it on the Switch. It's just, I know what I'm losing, but I know how much I'm gaining.
Yeah.
It's just so, I don't know.
Well, let's talk about another game, and this one seems to have a higher likelihood, at least in the near future. Oliver Arts 3 says, what are your thoughts on No Man's Sky on Switch? Do you think it's possible that it could get ported, and would you guys get it? And we have Sean Murray talking about potentially bringing it to Switch and how he's interested in maybe doing that. No word on if it's going to happen or if it's possible, but Beyond just came out, the huge update to kind of take that thing. Yep. It's crazy to me the level of updates that title has gotten since it came out. That they've stayed committed to the initial product, like that's over that time. It's rare, but No Man's Sky, would you want it on Switch?
Dude, I think first off, what a great case study for like sticking to your guns, man. They failed, and it's now the game
failed
that
so hard though.
I mean, probably the worst failure in gaming in like recent gaming history. And to think, like you said, they put out so many updates, and some of them in silence. Like, it didn't get a lot of news, a lot of, the stuff that they did. And it's slowly becoming the game that they promised. And I think now we're kind of at the point where, if they say it's coming to Switch, I'm getting it. That's probably a day one for me. Because I always wanted it, but when it dropped, I mean, wow, did that negative perception just completely turn me off. And also, I think if the Outer World could be on Switch, No Man's Sky could be on Switch. I'm sorry, and that's not anything. I know how hard and how big of a game No Man's Sky is, but come on, like at this point, I don't think we can keep saying that the Switch is the weakest thing in the world. It could clearly, if you have a good team behind it, they can get it running.
If it ran well, I think it'd be really cool. I think it'd be great to take on the go. It's not my favorite game in the world, but even in its initial release, like I had fun with No Man's Sky. Like there's some good stuff to get there, and now with like an emphasis on multiplayer, and you can ride and milk alien creatures, so all sorts of things that Nintendo fans may like.
It's not a game that I've played yet, but it's one that, for whatever reason, the art style, I feel like it would be a perfect fit on Switch. I would honestly pick it up. I saw that and I was like, oh, that would be a great addition, and it would be a good chance for me to dive into it.
Yeah,
I hope it comes. We were talking about Astral Chain, and this question comes from Gadget Plays 21. How do you all feel about Nintendo's marketing campaign for Astral Chain? Instead of doing a big direct for it before release, they have been releasing little tidbits every so often, and honestly, it's hard for me to be hyped for it, which is... Did you write this? Is this your tweet?
It's my tweet. I wrote it. Honestly, this is an easy answer. I mean, I think the marketing is terrible.
Yeah.
just to be completely honest, I entirely side with you. I totally agree. I just think, like, again, like the marketing in the beginning, when I saw the first direct for it, I was like, this looks fantastic. It was kind of an out of nowhere game that it looks exciting. I love the story behind it. I like the art style and the combat. Like, it all looks really exciting, but it's just something about how they've marketed it, period, that's definitely made me lose a lot of hype. Yeah, they've been kind of trailing stuff here and there, giving like little little brief updates, but it doesn't seem like they're that excited about it, which makes me harder. Yeah, it's harder for me to be excited about it. I don't think it's been the best marketing. I'm still going to pick it up. I do think it's going to be a fantastic game, and I think it's going to surprise me, and I do think it's going to hold up. If it's anything like even the initial drop from what I initially saw and how I felt about it, it's going to be a fantastic game. I'm just surprised that they aren't doing more to hype it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally like a Platinum Games thing, man. What a Nintendo move. I mean, they did this to Platinum Games multiple times where like they just have a great game that's coming out and then, it's not like, I don't know, it's just not a priority. It's so weird too because when it got announced, I remember the Direct and they showed it and I remember thinking to myself like, this is what the Switch needed right now.
Yeah,
like,
it's
it just
a
looks like
standout. It's a new title,
brand new IP. Exactly, it was a new title. It was something brand new. It's Platinum Games developing it, so at the very least, it's going to be super fun. There might not be much weight behind it, but it turns out there is. But when it dropped, everyone was so behind it. They were like, "Wow, August!" Like, and we got a release date right away too, which was great. Like, we knew it was coming out in August, so like, I feel like everyone was super hyped about it. But as you said, like time went on and man, I guess the focus from Nintendo just totally went to whatever the hot thing was at the moment. And then Fire Emblem happened and now we hear nothing of Astral Chain. And it's very upsetting because I think this could be like a classic. I think it could be an IP that like, it doesn't even need a sequel. I think it just is going to exist in this great place where man, it's just going to be a fun game.
They need to pay you for that.
And
quote,
I really hope people
instant classic.
Instant play, right? Put it on the bots, Platinum. Put it, please.
This is what Nintendo needs, though. They need new, first titles that are, not sequels, not remakes, and something that's exciting that they put a lot into. And I think it's going to be that game. I'm just really surprised that they haven't, put more of a stance behind it.
To play devil's advocate a little bit, 6-month hype cycle and a 6-month marketing PR cycle is hard. This game was announced in February at the Direct. They've had an E3 Direct and game dedicated Directs for Mario Maker and Pokemon, but there hasn't been like, it's not like they've avoided it, I don't think. It's just like the way that like February to August, what would they have done? And it is published by Nintendo. So you'd think
I just think like one more Direct, like a specific
dedicated
Direct on
Direct for
Astral.
Astral Chain?
Yeah, dude. That's what I think it needs because again, it's a new title, and that's something like I don't feel like people aren't talking about enough. Like so many of Nintendo's titles are old franchises, and they don't really put a ton of focus into doing something new. So I feel like this one specifically did deserve its own Direct, and that's just where I'm.
I think that might also be the problem though. Is like with Nintendo, Nintendo's in this weird place where like its history is its worth. So you look at the first party games that it puts out, like you never hear a bad thing about like Mario games or Legend of Zelda. Like it will always be great. The problem is when you start getting to these, Nintendo published games that are like kind of second tier in terms of, you get to your Daemon X Machinas and you get to your Astral Chains. You get these games.
That's the real shame. Daemon X Machina has gotten more marketing and press than
Astral Chain has.
It's ridiculous.
And I think Astral Chain's going to be the better game.
Oh no, sure. Astral Chain's going to be the better game, and we'll talk about that eventually, I'm sure. But like the thing is I think there's a lot banking on Astral Chain just in terms of like because it is a new IP and because it is Platinum Games, a lot of people just assume like, hey, this is great, Nintendo should push this. But on Nintendo's side, it's like, yeah, but how many games are coming out in September to November that they're putting out? Like you have Luigi's Mansion, you have Link's Awakening, you have Pokemon. Those games are gonna be so much better, well received, even if they're not better games, which I'm sure they're going to be fantastic games. But like, it's just Pokemon holds so much more weight than Astral Chain. And even though Astral Chain looks fantastic and it brings so much new to the table, I mean, if they're going to choose one to have a direct for, especially a dedicated direct, they're gonna go Pokemon.
And they've done a few, but I feel like at this point, Pokemon, anybody that's going to buy Pokemon has already decided they're going to. Anybody that's not going to buy this time with as much attention they've given it is not going to buy it, unfortunately. I'm just saying that, like, there's still a lot of people that I think are on the fence in terms of Astral Chain, which is why I think it could use more of a marketing push. But
I mean, I think it's as simple as, like, publishing partner versus a true first-party title, like, is never going to get the same push. To me, it's interesting that if this was just Platinum, like, doing something on a smaller budget, whatever, but the fact that I feel like Nintendo will push Bayonetta 3 a lot, like, maybe they should have given more of this, but I do genuinely wonder if it's not that they don't care, because I've seen a lot of interviews and a lot of gameplay happening over the last couple of weeks. Like, it's clearly being, you know, toted around the outlets. Is it just the fact, though, that they just, like, it doesn't line up? Like, the next direct will be in September. Sorry, it's too late. The last direct was E3. They had way too much to talk about. The reveal direct was in February, and this
maybe retroactively they'll have a bit about it in the September direct.
Maybe, but like, I guess Joseph, like, you're talking like Wonderful 101. Like, these games are never given like a, I don't know. It does sort of feel like they're kind of sent to die. Like, they do well enough, but I just don't know if they don't have the marketing dollars to put on, you know, TV commercials. But we also don't know the budget, so I think
this game legitimately could be a new Persona. I think it could be, and this is a totally different style, but I think it could have been for Switch kind of what Splatoon is. It was still a brand new title, and I do think this game has the potential to be that big if it got the push behind it. That's just my thought. So.
Yeah.
We will see.
I think that's the thing that sucks about it, is that we'll never know, because it
maybe
has already been shafted.
Maybe it'll just get such good word of mouth.
Be the first,
maybe that's all it takes.
Retroactive direct where they're like, you know what? We're doing an October direct for Astral Chain because it was really good, but no one bought it, and we really want to get you guys some more.
I hate that.
Well, here we are complaining. I'm still gonna buy it anyway, so they've done something right.
Same, yeah.
I think that I also think, like, just like dollars and cents, the budget for this title and their target sales probably is not as high or anywhere near as high as, like, what Nintendo needs for Pokemon, obviously, or even Splatoon 2. So I don't think this is a case of, like, Nintendo holding Astral Chain hostage and, you know, Hideki Kamiya and Platinum are like, darn you, Nintendo. Like, maybe this, you know, it's a better scenario for Platinum, I think, and for us than getting a Wonderful 101 port, even though I'd still like that to happen. Like, we get a brand new game. Maybe it gives them money to continue, you know, Bayonetta 3 and see that through. But that one's out soon, so knock on wood that it's good. Our final question of the day comes from a friend of the channel, Switch Stop. Thomas has been on videos before, and he wants to know, Nintendo chooses one franchise to make a maker game for. Which one of their franchises would you want?
Man, can we just get it out of the way that Trip and I probably have the same answer?
If it's Fire Emblem Maker, I'm hanging up.
No, not Fire Emblem. Stop, please. I don't want to talk about Fire Emblem anymore.
I actually think I know what Joseph's going to say, and I might actually disagree with Joseph just for a specific reason. But I am excited to hear what you have to say.
All right, so, I mean, I got to go Pokemon.
A Pokemon Maker?
Pokemon Maker. Just hear me out.
Do you make, wait. Do you make the Pokemon or do you make the game?
You make the game. You make the game, right? Okay. I'm going to sell it right now. So, obviously, Mario Maker has the fantastic ability to select which theme, the game that you want to do. We have multiple generations. I'm not saying we can have a Sword and Shield style Pokemon game, but what I am saying is that we can 100% do from original Red and Blue to, like, Black and White 2. I think that's a huge amount of sprite work already finished, and I'm sure that you can, like, they can do a sprite editor where you can make your trainers and make them look how whatever. But we already have things like RPG Maker that, you know, while it does take a lot of knowledge of coding, it still is kind of welcoming enough that people aren't too scared to look at it and be like, all right, well, I can make something on this. So to get a dumbed down version of that where you can make your own region, select what, you know, previously already made Pokemon appear in that region, and just kind of like, okay, like, there's a grass patch here. Let me grab, you know, I don't know, Swellow and put him in there. And now when you walk through that, you can get a Swellow. Like, oh man, I'm getting.
Are you writing the dialogue too, or is it like a simplified?
Yeah, like you can script it if you want. So like you don't have to have a story. You don't have to. And I'm not saying they're like these big things, but like even if it's just set pieces, like you can be like, oh well, I want I want red to show up and blue is at the end of this long tunnel and blah blah blah, like whatever, something simple like that. But I do think the idea of creating your own region, especially because like you look at the original Red and Blue, they were such small games in terms of actual scope. Like sure, to players it was like the world, it meant a lot, but in general, like what it took to make that game was close to nothing. Obviously back then it was a lot of work, but I know, no disrespect to
Joseph,
but back then you couldn't reuse animations game free. No, I'm kidding. Absolutely joking. But
so Pokemon Maker,
the game. I personally, I was gonna say Pokemon Maker, but then my thought, and the reason I chose not to is because I just feel like it'd be impossible. Like I think, like at least yet. But the way you described it, if it was like a pixelated version of the game, then I could see some version of that being a possibility, and I would absolutely play that. That would probably be my favorite game in the world if it actually worked the way that you're talking about it. So I want that very badly. But one of my biggest dreams is to be involved in a Pokemon game in some capacity, or like a Pokemon movie. I'm just I always think about like the storylines, how I want them to go.
You should be a voice actor for the next Pokemon game.
Yeah, I'll just submit my my hat for that. I wish.
They don't talk, so you just.
I'll say nothing.
Best job, man.
So I'm gonna quickly reroute and say that the one that I think is more possible, and maybe this is too easy, but one of my favorite things in Mario Maker was actually the all of the kart races, and I just can't help thinking that the thing that would make the most sense and something that's doable but would be so much fun is just a Mario Kart Maker. I think the ability to kind of design your own tracks and your own courses in that world would be fantastic. And if it was even half as good as the system and the operating behind Mario Maker 2, then that game would be phenomenal. And I feel like I would dump a ton of hours into it. I think that's my pick, definitely.
Hey, Mod Nation Racers did it.
I was just about to say
a long time ago. Joseph, I think
we had it with Mario.
I think if it was like a Pokemon gym builder, maybe that would work. Like design a gym.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone's gonna be sitting there making a 20-hour game and like.
I am. If the ability was there,
do you see those Mario Maker too? I mean, even the dungeon crawler thing that you showed us.
It's like if I could dump 50 hours into Fire Emblem or like 1,000 hours into making a Pokemon game, I'll choose that.
Yeah, there's gonna be nothing on the online like service for like the first 6 months, and then they start popping up.
I didn't even think about that.
So Mario Kart Maker would be my pick, but then like. Mario Kart to me is so perfect that I don't know that I'd want a sullied version in my head where I'm like, remember that time
you don't want to play my track?
No, where it's just like a figure eight. Like really, like here we are again on the freaking figure eight. Like I'm sure there'd be some really cool ones, but it's like something about Mario Kart is so official. Like I don't know, but to me that is logical. I'm gonna go with Donkey Kong Country Maker. Because it's I guess very similar to Mario, but with different mechanics. I think building like minecart levels would be awesome. People would be all about that. Building barrel levels, people would be all about that. It has different enough mechanics, but a similar enough structure where it would be very easy to just carry over what they've created with Mario Maker and transport it over to Donkey Kong. I love those characters. I don't think there's been of the mainline ones. I don't think any of them have been bad, and I'm so hyped for the freaking DK Land at Universal Studios that it would be so cool to. They're making a freaking minecart roller coaster where the track drops and you're held up on poles. Does it? It simulates the breaks in the track.
Wait, where is this? Where are they making it?
Universal
Studios.
Oh, Universal? Yeah. Really? Wow.
So Super Nintendo World comes out next year in Japan, then eventually in Orlando, and it's a Mario Kart ride, a Yoshi ride, and then a DK coaster. But like I've seen like there's video of the tech operating where like the cart is held up on poles basically, or like arms, so it's going along and then the track breaks but you're still being held, and then it moves you down to the track.
Got it.
So
it simulates the drop.
Yeah, although I will say that like I haven't been on it yet, which I'm crazy excited for, but the new here's my I live in Orlando, so theme parks are cool. There's a Hagrid's Magical Creatures motorbike roller coaster at Universal.
Ooh,
and it has drop track tech, so the track literally drops, and I want to say it's like 15 feet.
I've seen video footage of this. It looks
so it's like you don't expect it, but instead of like going down like a little like drop to go underneath an animatronic or character, the track literally like straight up drops. So it's like a free fall in a coaster. So
that's crazy. I did not hear about this at all.
So if they can
I'm
do
a
that,
huge roller coaster buff, so all of that excites.
Well, you'll be all over the DK coaster then. That'll be fun. But yeah, a maker of another sort would be awesome. I personally don't think we ever get it. I don't think they ever deviate from Mario Maker. I mean, maybe we get Mario Maker 3 at some time in the future, but I don't know. Nintendo's not cool enough for that. There's so many crossovers they could have done. They could have done a sick amiibo game. They could have done, there's so much. So
I want a Yoshi Maker, dude.
Yeah?
I love Woolly World. I love Crafted World. That would be fantastic. And it's just so chill. It's so low key. You don't have to worry about 5 billion Goombas destroying you or like, Bullet Bill, like 50 of them breaking through the wall. It's like, even if you make a course that's just simple and it's like clouds and like, I don't know, like I'd still enjoy that. With Mario Maker, I feel like it's this added stress of like, I've got to make it impossible to beat.
Yeah, definitely.
But with if it was a Yoshi game, no one would care. It's all about the style and just the fun. I would enjoy that.
I'll also take a theme maker since Nintendo won't do it themselves. I'm willing to work for free to make some new themes.
Yes, please.
Themes.
Awesome.
Well, the theme of the next conversation is goodbye, because we are done. That's the end of the questions. Thanks so much for sending those in. Make sure to stay tuned for that tweet that we'll be posting every week. We're going to get it up on your favorite audio platforms, we promise. And we'll be back next week with another episode. I think, Astral's not this next week, so I'm not sure what really is switcherooing in the next 7 days. You guys got any plans?
Switcherooing. What are your plans, Joseph?
I don't know, man.
Putting it on you.
What does draw? What's it called? The game we were just talking about, the demo. Oninaki.
Oninaki is out. You're gonna
that
give
comes
it.
out
You're gonna
the
give it
20th?
$50.
I might give it $50. We'll see.
Maybe you could give it. Maybe you could give it $50, and then I'll pay you $5 to tell me about it.
Okay. I mean, you could just ask.
or you could just pay him $5 to share it with you if he shares your account, or you can split it, and then there you go.
25. We'll share the game.
There you go.
That is a thing, including tats. I'll cover the tats, of course.
That could be
Wonderful.
good.
Thanks, Joseph.
I cannot say what I'm doing, and no one can say anything. But other than that, it'll be a good week, and we'll be back with another podcast. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these. Thanks so much for the support, by the way. I think we were all really pleased that it was virtually all positive feedback, which is shocking on YouTube in 2019.
Well, now they'll find a reason to give you not good.
No Dormanitan tweets.
Where was the Dormanitan talk? God, letting me down.
They knew. They felt bad.
But yeah, thank you so much for watching, for being a part of this. We are going to keep it rolling. I saw a few people being like, will there be another episode? And I was like, heck yes, there's be another freaking episode. There's going to be another episode every week. You're going to have to deal with us for a while. So thank you again for watching. Thanks for being here. Hopefully by next week, we've got our setups fixed and our audio platforms secured, and we're good to go. But until that time, thanks so much for myself, Trip, Joseph, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, the Joy-Con, the games coming out at the end of the month, and even the Switch V2. SwitchForce